Hi everyone, I'm Mixed Media Girl. Welcome to Hometalk. Today I'm going to show you how to easily take an inexpensive table and make it into something awesome using epoxy. So let's get started. I'm using an IKEA side table here. It's the lac side table to be specific. I've sanded it and primed it a few times to give the epoxy something to grip to. That is really important. I'm using the Stone Coat Countertops Art Coat, which has a really long work time, high UV protection, and it's just my preference. And I'm going to mix equal parts A and B. All right, I've mixed my epoxy thoroughly. Now it is time to start mixing the colors. And I'm going to basically be doing, it's mostly going to be white. So in this larger cup, I'm going to put a bunch of clear. And then this is going to be a white metallic. This is metallic white from Stone Coat Countertops. You don't need more than about 10%, maybe 15% of the powder to the epoxy. I'm also going to throw in a little bit of this interference blue mica powder from Alumilite. Sorry, this is Alumidust. And that is a metallic white with just a hint of the blue, depending on what light you're looking at it in. So got to mix these thoroughly. Try not to mix too fast because you don't want to dump it out on your table. And we'll come right back to that. The mica powders need to be mixed very well, just as a note. I've made that mistake before of not mixing it fully. I'm going to just pour out the epoxy into these cups. These ones here are just going to have just a tiny bit of colors we don't need a lot of. Actually, I'm going to pour some back out because that's even a little too much. Okay, in this cup, I'm going to put just plain white. Now this one is not metallic or anything, and this is a dye. This is the Alumilite white dye. Then in one of these, I'm going to make my blue. So I'm using a little bit of the Alumilite Ocean Blue. I just want to use about a drop. This stuff is really potent. And I'm going to actually cut that with a little bit of the Alumidust blue-green mica powder. That will lighten it up a little bit and get kind of more the color that I'm going for. Tiny, tiny portions because that's just a small amount of resin. In the last cup here, I'm actually going to even pour a little more resin out. We're going to use gold. Now gold can tend to take over, so you just need a very little bit. I'm using the Just Resin Gold Paste. This stuff is gorgeous. So I'm going to get all these colors mixed up very thoroughly. Doesn't take much, but you want to make sure it is done thoroughly. And once again, we'll be right back. Now remember, this is white, so that can actually be used in our design. So I'm going to pour a little bit of clear to start with. I always leave some clear just in case. And it often can easily be incorporated into whatever you're working on. So I didn't put it on the entire table, but just some parts. And that will help add some depth. Now we're going to go in with the pearl white. This is that metallic. And this is such a gorgeous color. Will give a lot of depth. And as this is the main color, I'm going to cover quite a bit of the table with it. Okay, I'll just dump this cup upside down here to drain. I like to use every last drop of epoxy if possible. And next I'm going to go in here with some of the white, and that will add a little bit of contrast to that metallic. And once again, add depth. So don't worry, this is what I call kind of the ugly phase. And you can go, you do not need to do like any pattern or anything. You can kind of just go all over the place. We're going to get the background really covered here, and then we're going to get in with our actual colors last. So I'm going to start by moving this all around and making sure that the background here is fully covered. And also I'm going to start to get the sides. We want all this to run over the sides. Ideally get full coverage on your sides. And I recommend where you're going across parts that are intersecting, like here, you tap instead of actually swipe, which will keep them from blending completely, and they'll just blend a little bit. You can also do this with a paintbrush. Some people definitely prefer that. I am a hands-on kind of person. So already, even just like this, if you like just the white look, this already is beautiful. It's a little bit more difficult to see the depth on camera than in person, but this already has this gorgeous marbled look. I'm gonna just go around and get all the sides. I do have a little bit more clear in here that I'm gonna just pour. Okay. Chop it in and get the sides. I'm gonna just turn this around so I can get the other sides. Okay, so this is now thoroughly covered, and now we're gonna start to get in here with our color. Our color, we're not gonna be quite as liberal with. So I'm just gonna do, you know what, actually, I'm gonna go in here with a stick and kind of just add some points of interest in here. I want to kind of break this up a little bit into some veins. And don't worry, once again, we're kind of back to the ugly phase a little bit. As we start to move this around again, that will blend in more. Another thing you can do, because at this stage, this is very liquid. So these lines and stuff are going to blend in. If you want actually harsher lines, you can let the epoxy actually cure for a little while and then come back and do it when it's a bit more solid and not quite as liquidy as this. And I always stress, this is all just a matter of personal preference. You can do as much or as little to it as you want. I'm going to go in here now with my heat gun and actually start moving that around, which will also get rid of the air bubbles in there. So this is just going to soften some of those lines. Okay, that did soften them, but I do want to actually physically chop in some and kind of blend in some blue into that white. Move this all around. It's actually super hard to go wrong with these pieces, which is what's so great about it. So if you like the lined look, go ahead and leave those in there. But I kind of want a little bit of a combination here of some lines plus some kind of blended in. And there's also something I'll be doing at the very end, which will make, like, tie it all together and really make this all make a lot more sense. But don't worry about it. Play around, have fun with it. The cool thing about epoxy too is you can always go over it. Let's say you do it and you're like, oh my gosh, I really don't like that. You can go over it again. Okay, now we're gonna go in here with a little bit of gold, and with the gold, we're gonna be even more sparing than that blue. I think it's best to use the stick. I'm just gonna put some fun gold veins in here. This all just adds some interest. Excellent, okay. So there's one last thing we're gonna do to this, and that is, I have this spray bottle. This is 91% isopropyl alcohol with some teal mica powder in it. And we're gonna just spray this right onto our project here, and that's going to fracture it. I personally love the super fractured look. So I'm going to spray this quite a bit. It is important that you use 91%. This is a fine mist bottle. You can get ones that have different mists, but you can also spray it into your hand and flick it like this to get some bigger fractures. So I like to kind of have a combination of both. And you can see that the mica powder doesn't really add much color, but it does add kind of a hint of it. And you don't want to overdo this, but really, you know, have fun with it. Do as much as you want. And another thing you can do is you can tilt it if you would like. I don't think I'm going to do that to this project though. Well, let's see, maybe. We can always start to tilt, and if I like how it's kind of seeming like it looks, I'll tilt it more. Okay, yeah, I think I'm just gonna kind of leave it like that. I'm happy with that. And I think that's it. We're gonna leave this. I will come back in a little bit and just torch it one more time. You do not want to torch it right after you put alcohol on it, or, you know, it'll just light on fire. But we're going to do that, and then we're going to come back and do a clear coat with the countertop epoxy. So we'll be back. We're back, and this is fully dry now. So we're going to just put a clear coat on it. So a couple important things about this is the clear coat. I'm using Stone Coat Countertop's countertop epoxy. This is the stuff that's made for kitchen counters, furniture. It has scratch resistance, heat resistance. I use that always to do the top of my furniture pieces, and it's mixed the same way, part A and part B equal parts as the art coat. And then also I did lightly sand this with 220 just to ensure that this has enough grip. So for the clear coat, I like to just pour it in the middle and then just push it out as I go in this like circular motion, and this helps to evenly spread it around. And also kind of helps to just mix it even a little bit more. I mixed it up in my cup for several minutes, but it doesn't hurt to mix it a little bit more. I always leave a little bit in my cup just in case I need it, but I'm going to pour a little more on here to make sure I can get all the sides. And this part's just super simple. It's just the clear coat. But you guys can see how the mica's moved as the resin dried, and when I do the close-up, I hope you guys can see all the depth that this piece has. If the piece is now fully covered, I'm just going to torch it, and then we are done. And torch, you just go back and forth quickly. Don't stay on one spot for too long. That's all there is to it. So we're going to let this dry fully. I'm going to sand off the drips on the bottom and then attach the legs, and I'll show you the final product. All right, here's our table complete with the legs and everything. It's very hard to show in the camera, but this has so much depth. I just love this, how this comes out, and it matches my home decor perfectly. But you know, you can go with other colors besides blue. And it's just so easy for anyone to create this marbled look. Thank you for watching Home Talk. We'll see you next time.